You need to get out right now. Things are way worse than they are saying. They are lying about pretty much everything that is happening, and I am shocked on this research that I have done and what is actually happening. This is on the level of Agent Orange. The chemicals that are being released can produce Agent Orange. And if you are familiar with that chemical, devastating effects. All right, we're going to cover all this, and over 10 states are in the path of this destruction, and things just got even worse. All right, a dam just broke, and literally a dam just broke, and things are getting even worse. And the EPA, the federal government, is trying to cover it up, and they've done this before too. All right, back in the 70s, this happened. Something very similar. We're going to cover all this stuff, and they are trying to cover it up. And it could also lead to the food supply being poisoned. These chemicals being released stick inside of fatty acids, stick inside of meat, and could poison our food supply as well. The food you are eating could be poisoned by these chemicals as well. So this is very serious. This is a massive cover up, and things just got even worse. So we're going to cover all this stuff. Dioxins are floating in the air and are being released into the water as well. We're going to cover all this. So I'm going to break down all this stuff. Literally, Agent Orange chemicals are being released into the US right now. This is chemical warfare. This is a chemical biological attack on millions of people in the United States, and there's really no word on it, right? It's a story, but it needs to be taken as a national emergency, federal emergency. There needs to be the full force. This is what the government's good for. This is all they're good for. Honestly, they have a lot of bloat, and if they're not good for this, then what are they good for? All right. So you can see here, just to start off, stick with me here. This is going to be a long video today, guys. And sorry I missed out the past couple days. My son had some surgery. He's doing well. He recovered, but I wanted to just take a couple days off for that. So you can see here a breached dam, all right, happened in Ohio, now affecting people again, all right, because this is hitting the incinerated soil. So they burned all this soil that got contaminated with vinyl chloride in this explosion, and it released massive dioxins into the air. We're going to cover all this that can turn into Agent Orange. This is very serious and can stay in the environment for years and can contaminate the food supply. And now a massive dam has broken on one of the main waterways in East Palestine, and it flooded this incinerated soil that's filled with dioxins. All right, so it keeps getting worse. You can see here, breach dam, incineration of soil, flood in East Palestine with fresh fears of toxins. All right, and they said, quote, "I've had a fear, and now this just puts the anxiety over the top," said one local resident. So now they've already burned all these chemicals in the soil and released dioxins into the air. That's what all this black smoke is. And now on top of that, that soil's being flooded because there's massive rain in Ohio right now, and in Kentucky as well. And it's flooding out the soil and spreading it out even more throughout the city. All right, they're saying kids' playgrounds are flooded right now with this incinerated soil that's filled with vinyl chloride that was burned and exploded. All right, this is a giant disaster. This is potentially the biggest environmental disaster in American history. The workers are totally exposed. They are just standing there directing traffic, keeping people away, and they're like, "Yeah, the derailment's right over there. My eyes are burning and I have a headache." They're like people are interviewing them like, "Hey, what's going on over here?" They're driving up to the checkpoints, and the workers wearing nothing. They're just wearing a vest and a hard hat, some glasses or something, some shades, all right? Not even like goggles, just literally sunglasses. And they're telling people, "Yeah, my eyes burn, my head hurts to breathe, all right? Smells like chemicals." And they're just standing here like, this is one of the biggest catastrophes we've ever had, and it should be on the front page every single day, every single day. And this happened before in the United States as well. We will get to that in just a second. In the 70s, there was a massive disaster where these dioxins got released into the air. And you can see here, this affects everything. So this water flooding, this dam breaking, all right, it affects everything. The Ohio River flows directly into the Mississippi, and that's why I said 10 states are affected here, because 10 states border the Ohio and Mississippi all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico there, and they're all at potential risk of being contaminated with these heavily toxic chemicals that can literally cause Agent Orange. All right, we're going to break down all this stuff in just a second. But this is huge that this many people, millions of people, tens of millions of people are being affected by this, and the federal government's response is literally nothing. Things were so bad that last week that Cincinnati closed their Ohio River intake, all right? And it really didn't help because the train derailment happened 2 weeks before they even closed it. So didn't really help. It was kind of like too sorry, too late at that point. And all of these people are being contaminated with potentially Agent Orange creating chemicals. We will get to that in just a second. Let's get to the details of this dam breaking here as well, because this is one of the main waterways, and a lot of people are saying they are just diluting the water. They're not even really filtering it. They're just bringing water in and taking water out and bringing them to other states. All right. They literally got caught bringing water to Indiana and all the way to Texas to filter it out. This is just insane. The logistics of this is nuts. Who's running this? And think of the danger of driving this toxic wastewater all the way to Texas from Ohio. It's like, who's thinking of these plans? This is insane. It's like they almost want another accident to happen while they're driving down there and spill some more water. All right, it's insane. Makes zero sense. And this is what's happening right now. Is it poor management, or is it intentional? Is it intentional? All right, because these dioxins stay in the water, stay in the soil. The cows are going to eat the grass. The cows are going to drink the water. The chickens are going to, all the animals are. All the crops are going to be watered with this water from the Ohio River basin, and it's all going to be contaminated in our food supply. This is a massive grow zone for our country, and a lot of food comes out of this area, and it's going to all be contaminated with these dioxins, all right? So you can see here a makeshift dam collapsed from heavy rain in East Palestine, all right, again. And a contractor was even telling people to get out of the area because it is super dangerous to be here right now with the chemicals leaking all over the place, all right? So this was a massive dam break, and it's flooding kids' playgrounds. It's flooding the Roadhouse restaurant. It's flooding all the streets around. And this is the main creek or whatever, the main waterway that has the chemicals in it. All right, and it's the dam broke because of all the rain. Their little makeshift dam that they're using to filter everything out. So just disasters on top of disasters. Let's get into what's going on here with the EPA, though, because they are trying to cover up what's really happening in East Palestine. I keep mentioning these dioxins. These are key because they are not testing for these specific chemicals. They're only testing for volatile organic compounds broadly, and they're saying, hey, there's not much here. It's not enough to be dangerous. And they're not testing specifically for these highly toxic and dangerous chemicals that wouldn't show up in these tests. And they're also diluting the water to make it look like there's not as much in the soil and seeping into the environment than there is. All right, so we really can't trust these tests, and they're not even doing the right test as well. Sounds a little familiar, but we won't get into that. We can see here from The Guardian, it says, here's the real reason the EPA doesn't want to test for toxins in East Palestine. It says the agency is familiar with dioxins, having researched its adverse effects, and if they test the soil in East Palestine for it, they will find it. All right, so, and dioxins lead directly to Agent Orange like chemicals, and this has happened in the United States before. You can see here it is well documented that burning chlorinated chemicals like vinyl chloride will generate dioxins. Dioxins is a name given to a group of persistent, very toxic chemicals that share similar chemical structures. The most toxic form of dioxin is the 2378 tetrachlorobenzo P-dioxin, all right, or the TCDD. TCDD is more commonly recognized as a toxic contaminant found in Agent Orange. And this happened at Love Canal, New York, and Times Beach, Missouri, both sites of two of the most tragic environmental catastrophes in history. So just a major coincidence that Agent Orange is potentially raining down in Ohio and staying in the water supply. All right, look at this river system. Look at this water system. And the Ohio River charges the basin, all right, for all your wells as well. So there's underwater rivers that are part of the aquifer. All these things are being contaminated right now, and there's really nowhere safe. It's very dangerous, and they're just blowing this over. They don't even want to test for it because they know there could be high levels of this TCDD, which is directly related to Agent Orange. This is insane that this is happening inside the United States right now. And you can even see here who even lists dioxins as highly toxic, and they can even contaminate our food supply. All right, you can see here, right here, this is on the WHO website, and it says dioxins are found throughout the world in the environment, and they accumulate in the food chain, mainly in the fatty tissues of animals. More than 90% of human exposure is through food, mainly meat and dairy products, fish and shellfish. Many national authorities have programs in place to monitor the food supply. Dioxins are highly toxic and cause reproductive and developmental problems, damage the immune system, and interfere with hormones, and also cause cancer. Due to the omnipresence of dioxins, all people have background exposure, which is not expected to affect human health. However, due to the highly toxic potential, efforts need to be undertaken to reduce current background exposure. All right, so right there, it accumulates in animal tissue, and they're saying the main exposure is already through animals. And how's it going to be now when all the water in Ohio, think of all the farms. This is prime farmland, prime Amish land. Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Illinois. This is prime farmland in America, and it's being poisoned right now, all right? And they're going to just keep growing it, and they're going to just ship it to you and make you eat it as well. And it's not the farmer's fault, but this is what's happening right now. And you can see here, this was Love Canal in New York in the 1970s. Does this look a little familiar? Read this sign here. Does this look familiar? I'll read it for you if you're not watching. It says disaster area. City failed us. Taxation without representation. Federal government help. All right, it's a sign outside of a house that's boarded up. This is from the 1970s, and this was a very similar chemical event with the same exact chemicals as well. And this definitely looks like a familiar scene, all right? Federal government failed us, and this was in the 70s, and it's happening all over again. We're going to add East Palestine to this list of environmental disasters in the United States. And just a warning really quick, all right, this isn't like super graphic, but I'm just going to show you what Agent Orange does to people, all right? So if you don't want to see this, just skip whatever 30 seconds in the video. But this is what it does to people, all right? This is serious. This could be happening to people inside the United States. And this happens to people decades later still in Vietnam. These areas are still contaminated. And it's so sad. This is so sad. Look at this little guy. This is really sad. I have a son that's 3 years old. This is extremely sad, and this hurts. I'm not even gonna show the other ones that I have. But if you want to look more into it, Agent Orange is devastating. It caused microcephaly, macrocephaly, all these problems, and it's very sad and very devastating. And a lot of people that are poisoned with it, their lifespan is not average. It's not as long as it should be. All right. So I'm not even going to show more But you can look it up more if you want, and this is the mild end of it. All right, there's a spectrum of Agent Orange poisoning. This is mild, I will say. It gets very extreme, and I'm not going to show it, but this is very sad. I have kids, all right? And kids could be poisoning. Kids are more susceptible. Their bodies are small. Their immune systems aren't as robust, and their bodies just don't handle contaminants as well because they're just smaller. They can't filter it out. Your body's just a giant filter for these contaminants, and it's based on the water you drink. And if the water you're drinking is contaminated too, there's really no way to even filter the chemicals out. All right, it's like a sponge. You're just filling the sponge with trying to clean a sponge with dirty water. It's just going to suck up more dirt if you clean it with dirty water. All right, so very sad. And this is what's happening to the people of Ohio right now. All right, I'm just getting chills because it's like, is this on purpose or is this not? It's one of these things I truly pray to God this is not on purpose, but I just have a feeling there's just so much going on. This weird movie, remember that white noise movie? All right. I just feel like there's something going on. All right. And I feel like we are not being told the truth and they are lying to us. They, if they were urgent and they were like being real about it and telling people to get the heck out of there, I would be more lenient. I wouldn't believe. I'd be like, all right, this is probably just a freak accident and something probably just went wrong. But it's like, why are they just covering it up and hiding it and denying funds? We're sending all this money overseas. I just saw we have more money to send overseas. The Treasury Secretary just went over there, Janet Yellen, and she announced we have more money. And then she came back to the United States and announced that the United States is trying to negotiate the debt ceiling so we don't default on our debt. And pretty much saying the U.S. is broke and we don't have any money to pay our bills and we need to raise the debt ceiling. Congress needs to. I'm just so sick of this. That's what I mean. I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt and be like, yeah, this could be a coincidence. That's what I mean. I see stories all the time that I just brush off. I'm like, this is probably nothing. But when it's a pattern, when there's a lot of stories in a row, a lot of train derailments in a row, a lot of fires in a row. All right, there's another fire in Ohio today at a massive warehouse in Cincinnati. All right, I forgot to even get the article for it, but I just remembered another fire. So it becomes like, is it a coincidence or are we under attack? All right, this is getting serious. Agent Orange, when I was reading this, I knew about the dioxins, but I did not know that they could turn into essentially Agent Orange-like chemicals. Very dangerous, very deadly, and Agent Orange was used in warfare in Vietnam. So, I mean, is this a biological chemical war on the United States? And they're doing these attacks on our food supply, on our infrastructure, because they want to get us into these 15-minute cities. They want to destroy all the farmland. They want to get all the farmers off their farmland, consolidate it. People like Gates just owns all the farmland. Just mega conglomerates own the farmland. And you're not allowed to have meat. You're not allowed to have all these things. And they're going to poison them anyways. They're going to get rid of them anyways and make it not even realistic to eat them anyways because it could be poison for a multitude of reasons. And you can even see here they want to get us into these 15-minute cities. They want to get you off your homestead. They want to get you off your farmland. They don't want you having chickens. They don't want you to know how to grow food. They don't want you doing anything. They want you in these 15-minute cities. And this was announced for Cleveland, and Cleveland is where all of these massive factory explosions have been happening. If you've been following my channel, there's been 3 massive factory explosions in the past week. 2 of them were at metal production plants right outside of Cleveland, and one was a Coca-Cola production plant. All right. So what's happening in Cleveland? And now, and Cleveland is only a couple hours from East Palestine. All these steel plants, they're right there near East Palestine. And now the mayor of Cleveland, Mayor Bibb, I believe his name is, he's even proposing 15-minute cities for Cleveland. And this is something we need to do. And you can see here they're even running little ads on TV around Cleveland for this. You can see here it says, imagine a Cleveland where everything you need is less than 15 minutes away. Just imagine. It's fine. You don't need a car. You don't need land. You can live in a box, in a coffin apartment, like they do in China. That's like 5 by 5 or 8 by 8. You can live in a coffin, and you can live in your 15-minute city, all right? This is the dystopia they want to implement. They want to get people off the land. They want to wreck the food supply. They want to poison it with dioxins. They want to make this whole area of Ohio and the Ohio River Basin just not growable, all right? Just contaminated. The EPA might just let this get so bad that they come in and say, you can't even grow here anymore. You can't even grow food in Ohio anymore. You're not allowed in this area, and just shut down the farmers, just kick them off their farms, or just kick people out of their homes saying, you know what, you're right, this is really bad. They just let it get so out of control that they can power grab people and say, you know what, it is crazy, and you need to get out of here. You need to leave your home, eminent domain. We're going to take all this land because it's contaminated. It's a real possibility, and it could be another reason why they're just letting it get so bad. All right, they're letting it get bad because it poisons the food supply. They're letting it get bad because it poisons you. It brings down your property values, ruins the supply chain, and maybe they want to kick these people off their homes. All right, I know it sounds crazy, but we've seen crazier things before, and we can definitely, especially the EPA, they are power hungry. They implement crazy rules all the time. I'm always covering them. But then they don't actually respond when there's a real emergency. When there's a real toxic chemical emergency, they're nowhere to be found. But maybe they're letting it get bad so they can come in and shut down this land and say, you know what, this is not livable. This is not safe for humans to live in. You're right. This area is contaminated. We're going to take it all, and we'll give you some money, eminent domain, but we're going to take all this land from you and kick you out. This could be a massive possibility and shut down a massive area of farmland in the United States as well. And you can see here, this is getting all the way to Michigan. All right, fish are dying in Michigan too. That's what I mean. These dioxins are very heavy. That's why all the pictures you're seeing in Ohio, it's very like cloudy and very hazy looking still, because the dioxins are heavy and they stay low to the ground. They don't stay up in the atmosphere so they can get into the drifts and float away. They stay low, and they just absorb into everything. They absorb into the houses, into the wood, into the soil, into the water, and they kind of just settle into everything because it's a very heavy. That's why you're seeing all this black smoke, because it wasn't a pure burn. It was a very unclean burn, a very dangerous burn, and the unclean burn created all these dioxins, all right? They didn't even burn off all the vinyl chloride. They just created a chemical reaction with it that created even worse chemicals that could now accumulate in our food supply. So this is a massive cover-up. This could be the biggest cover-up of the 21st century, potentially, unless things get even worse. But definitely could be the worst cover-up in like 100 years. All right, this is really bad, and they're letting it get to levels where it's getting even worse. Why are they letting it get this bad? You would think they would want to step in right away, be the heroes, be the environmental heroes, be like, yes, put their flag, their EPA flag. We saved the day. We stopped this right away. Do you know what I mean? But it's the complete opposite. It's just swept under the rug, and it's allowed to infect 10 different states and infect the entire country's water supply and food supply. So let me know what you guys think about this. If you are in these states, you have to have a water filtration device. You have to. Even city water, I would not trust it. I would not trust it to get out all these chemicals. You have to have some kind of reverse osmosis filtration for your water. Get a big Berkey water filter that you can just dump water into, and you can just like fill up your glass of water. There's all these different options, but you need to get something, because this is serious, and I would not want to be drinking these chemicals. I literally moved from an area because I researched the chemicals they use on orange groves because of the greening disease. The greening disease is just so bad. They have to use very extreme chemicals, and they even unbanned one that causes brain damage. Literally causes brain damage. And known studies, they banned it because it caused brain damage, and they brought it back because they're like, the groves are going to not survive if we don't bring this back. And I had to have a special filter on my well and everything, but it was too much. I just knew this water was contaminated, and I got out of there because they were spraying constantly. The air was contaminated, and this is like that, but times 100. This affects so many states, so many water basins, so many aquifers are being poisoned, so many farm animals are being poisoned, and this is a real threat. So make sure you guys have some kind of filter. Seriously, I do not want anyone in my audience to get sick from this. This is crazy. This is insane that the government is allowing this to happen. And this train company, they don't even care about their Norfolk Southern. Their employees are out there just wearing hard hats. And you saw the transportation secretary out there. Even he's just wearing a hard hat, some vest, all right, just there for the photo op. These people are breathing in toxic chemicals. Everyone says it smells like sulfur in the air and their eyes are burning. And they don't even give their own employees proper protection. They just let them stand out there with hard hats. Like, yeah, stand on the road with the hard hat next to this train derailment. You're safe. You got the hard hat and the vest on. You're fine. It's like they're breathing in toxic chemicals right now. Right? They're absorbing it through their skin. They need more than just a hard hat. All right? And they won't even protect their own employees. So you think they're going to protect the people there? You think they're going to care about the people there? No. It's corrupt all around, and it's very sad. So let me know what you guys think about this. If you are in these areas, bare minimum, you need to have water filtration. But honestly, if you have the resources, you should try to leave. But obviously, most people do not. Most people have to go to work tomorrow in these areas, and they can't leave. They have to stay. They have to pay their mortgage. They have to feed their family, and they don't have money to just uproot and go anywhere at any time to get away from this toxic event. All right. So thank you guys so much. Please pray for East Palestine. Pray for Ohio. It's getting crazy out there. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.